Hey folks, welcome back to the reading of the Advent of Divine Justice. I am Jacqueline. I am here in Georgia. I always like to broadcast from different cities that I'm in. I just attended the Association of Baha'i Studies 2018 conference, and it was very enriching, enlightening, interesting. And we are going to jump back in on paragraph 43 of the Advent of Divine Justice. This was a letter written in 1938 by Shoghi Effendi, the guardian of the Baha'i faith, to the North American and Canadian communities. I think this is a nice overview. Perhaps the communication most directly related to the life of the individual Baha'i was the Advent of Divine Justice, in which the guardian set forth the spiritual prerequisites for success in every activity for the advancement of the faith. Spiritual prerequisites for the success in every activity for the advancement of the faith. Special emphasis was placed not only upon the imponderable factors associated with the inner life and spirit, but also upon the human and social relationships which must be cultivated and made an integral part of the daily life of every Baha'i. There's a lot of craziness in the world, and it's just so good we're studying this, and to remember it's about our inner life and then the cultivation of our relationships in the outer world in the right spirit. I might sneeze at some point during this. All right, paragraph 43. Jumping back in, you're welcome to go back to the beginning if you need to orient yourself. God be praised, Abdu'l-Baha in his turn exclaims, the sun of justice hath risen above the horizon of Baha'u'llah, for in his tablets the foundations of such a justice have been laid as no mind hath from the beginning of creation conceived. The canopy of existence, he further explains, resteth upon the pole of justice, and not of forgiveness, and the life of mankind dependeth on justice and not on forgiveness. Small wonder, therefore, that the author of the Baha'i revelation should have chosen to associate the name and title of that house, which is to be the crowning glory of his administrative institutions, not with forgiveness, but with justice, to have made justice the only basis and the permanent foundation of his most great peace, and to have proclaimed it in his hidden words as the best beloved of all things in his sight. It is to the American believers particularly that I feel urged to direct this fervent plea to ponder in their hearts the implications of this moral rectitude, and to uphold with heart and soul and uncompromisingly, both individually and collectively, this sublime standard. A standard of which justice is so essential and potent an element. As to a chaste and holy life, it should be regarded as no less essential a factor that must contribute its proper share to the strengthening and vitalization of the Baha'i community, upon which must in turn depend the success of any Baha'i plan or enterprise. In these days when the forces of irreligion are weakening the moral fiber and undermining the foundations of individual morality, going to back up. In these days, when the forces of irreligion are weakening the moral fiber and undermining the foundations of individual morality, the obligation of chastity and holiness must claim an increasing share of the attention of the American believers, both in their individual capacities and as the responsible custodians of the interests of the faith of Baha'u'llah. In the discharge of such an obligation, to which the special circumstances resulting from an excessive and enervating materialism now prevailing in their country lend particular significance, they must play a conspicuous and predominant role. All of them, be they man or woman, must at this threatening hour, when the lights of religion are fading out and its restraints are one by one being abolished, pause to examine themselves, scrutinize their conduct, and with characteristic resolution, arise to purge the life of their community of every trace of moral laxity that might stain the name or impair the integrity of so holy and precious a faith. It's really interesting that Shoghi Effendi says that all of us must, in this threatening hour, pause and examine themselves, scrutinize our conduct, and then with resolution arise to purge our communities of every trace of moral laxity. But we purge our communities of moral laxity by each one of us taking individual initiative for our own conduct. It's amazing. It's so amazing. Wow. Like, if we all just do that, it will be accomplished. If we just take charge, take inventory, and purify and refine, then the community will take care of itself if the individuals take care of themselves. A chaste and holy life must be made the controlling principle in the behavior and conduct of all Baha'is, both in their social relationships with the members of their own community and in their contact with the world at large. It must adorn and reinforce the ceaseless labors. Adorn and reinforce the ceaseless labors and meritorious exertions of those whose enviable position is to propagate the message and to administer the affairs of the faith of Baha'u'llah. It must be upheld in all its integrity and implications in every phase of life of those who fill the ranks of that faith, whether in their homes, their travels, their clubs, their societies, their entertainments, their schools, and their universities. It must be accorded special consideration in the conduct of the social activities of every Baha'i summer school and any other occasions on which Baha'i community life is organized and fostered. It must be closely and continually identified with the mission of the Baha'i youth, both as an element in the life of the Baha'i community and as a factor in the future progress and orientation of the youth of their own country. Such a chaste and holy life, with its implications of modesty, purity, temperance, decency, and clean-mindedness, involves no less than the exercise of moderation in all that pertains to dress, language, amusements, and all artistic and literary avocations. It demands daily vigilance in control of one's carnal desires and corrupt inclinations. It calls for the abandonment of frivolous conduct with its excessive attachment to trivial and often misdirected pleasures. It requires total abstinence from all alcoholic drinks, from opium, and from similar habit-forming drugs. It condemns the prostitution of art and literature, the practice of nudism and of companion marriage, infidelity in marital relationships, and all manner of promiscuity, of easy familiarity, and of sexual vices. It can tolerate no compromise. Saying it again, it can tolerate no compromise with the theories, the standards, the habits, and the excesses of a decadent age. Nay, rather, it seeks to demonstrate through the dynamic force of its example the pernicious character of such theories, the falsity of such standards, the hollowness of such claims, the perversity of such habits, and the sacrilegious character of such excesses. We will conclude there. That was the end of paragraph 48 in the Advent of Divine Justice. Have a great day. Be bright, making the world a better place. We are on this planet together at this time for a reason.